Today on Monkey Life. Scaling great heights, the capuchins set loose into the trees for the first time.
This was a big thing to do, and it's just fantastic.
Feeding time for the chimps, but Hananya misses out again.
Hananya! Hananya!
And can young woolly monkey Diego pluck up the courage to join the big boys?
That's it, Diego, follow your brother.
This is Monkey World in Dorset. Buried deep in the English countryside, it's the largest sanctuary for apes and monkeys on the planet. It's run by Dr. Alison Cronin and her team, who rescue and rehabilitate primates from all over the world.
Smells a bit macaque in there, but yeah, we're good.
It's a big day for the park. For the last 5 months, workers and primate care staff have been busy building a new male capuchin enclosure, and it's finally finished. 88 capuchins were rescued from a laboratory in Chile in 2008, in a mammoth operation involving the Chilean Air Force. When they arrived at the park, there was enough space for the girls to have an outside enclosure. But until now, the boys have only had a small outdoor space to explore. Their new enclosure is a woodland with huge trees they'll be able to climb.
This is going to be a first for the boys since they've come here. Every other enclosure they've been in to date's always had some mesh or some kind of roofing on top. So this is the first time that they'll actually see the sky without mesh in front of it. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting day for them.
Capuchins are extremely clever, and if there's a way out of this new enclosure, they'll find it. So the staff have decided to let them out in stages, starting with the older ones. Winslow is the first to test the water, but is rather cautious. Unlike Reg, who seems to have no fear. Boise, meanwhile, is straight out onto the hoses. In the wilds of Central and South America, capuchins spend most of their time high in the canopy, so climbing trees comes naturally to them. These small monkeys are very agile and walk along branches rather than swing between them. Boise, who was originally caught from the wild, shows he hasn't lost his touch when it comes to scaling heights.
Oh, wow. Do you know how to get down, mate?
However, the capuchins who were born in the lab aren't so confident. Norman hasn't had the chance to climb trees before and prefers to stay on the mesh. Although he does seem to have made a new friend, even if it is his own reflection. Gorillon confidently tackles the swing bridges. Capuchins are very dexterous, so grasping onto log steps like this is no problem.
To sort of think back to when they first arrived and the condition that they were in, you know, a lot of them only really moving in small circles. To see them, you know, in this lovely big outside area, clambering along trees, doing what a capuchin's supposed to do is, yeah, it's just really rewarding and a lovely thing to see.
So the trial with the oldies seems to have gone smoothly. None have escaped and none of the equipment has been destroyed. But the real test will come later, when the rest of the boys are let loose. All the primates at the park are fed first thing in the morning. This gives the staff a chance to clean their bedrooms and encourages the monkeys and apes to get some exercise and fresh air. The chimps always look forward to breakfast. Hananya leads the way at his enclosure, putting on a fine display to make sure everyone knows who's boss. As alpha male, Hananya's role is to protect his group and stamp on any troublemakers. He's quite a young leader, so still needs to throw his weight around. Over at Paddy's, things are a lot calmer. Paddy is a well-established leader and well-respected by everyone in his group, so breakfast is a far more chilled-out affair. Because Hananya has spent so long displaying, he's missed out on all the food. Again. As the dominant male, he needs to keep up his strength, so along with some of the lower rankers, he's given extra feeds.
I'm just making up the supplementary drink that we give to certain individuals within the group. It's basically packed with loads of calories. We do like to give it to Hananya just because he does spend a lot of the time displaying within the group. So he's using a lot of adrenaline and he's running around. We also like to keep him looking nice and buff. So yeah, we give him this every other day. We put 2 scoops of multi-milk powder, which is used to feed up piglets, so it's full of calories and it's got lots of vitamins and stuff in it, lots of protein. A couple of bananas and a couple of tablespoons of peanut butter. This is full of nutrients as well as calories. They really, really like the taste of it as well. I don't know, I might like it too.
In chimp society, there's a strict hierarchy. High-ranking members of the group always have priority over the low rankers. So when it comes to food, some of the less dominant chimps can miss out. The staff have to be careful how they deal with this, so they operate what's known as cooperative feeding. In order to give a low ranker the extra food they need, they have to get permission from a high ranker first. They do this by offering them an extra treat too.
Cooperative feeding is a really good technique to use for feeding low-ranking animals in the group, just because it can be very stressful. They also find that they'll not come over to you and then they may receive less of the item you're giving out just because they don't want to come up because they think you're going to endanger them and causing a fight within the group if you try to give it to them next to a high-ranking animal. So also when you're giving out items, you need to have an understanding of the group dynamics as well, so that you don't try and, you know, get someone in trouble. Really. Hananya! Hananya! Go get him, Jess. Here he is. So this is Hananya. He's quite laid back in some respects. Good boy. He likes roast pudding as well, don't you? And a banana as well. A little bit. So Simon's quite low ranking. So that shows he's really wary that Hananya might not let him take it, but he is going to. Good boy, Hananya. Hananya, here. You finish it off. Good boy.
With a full belly, Hananya resumes his role of leader and takes the best vantage point to watch out for any signs of trouble. The chimps aren't the only ones given nutritional supplements. The staff are keen to make sure everyone has a balanced diet, including the golden-cheeked gibbons.
These are what we call vitamin balls, which are basically oats, but it actually consists of a little bit of juice or yogurt, which has actually got their vitamins, extra supplements, cod liver oil, evening primrose and vitamin C. With Zoe, we've actually also giving her some pronatal, because we believe she's heavily pregnant, so that's obviously an extra supplement for when she actually decides to give birth.
Zoe has been at the park since 2000. She was brought from Taiwan, where she'd been kept illegally as a pet after being taken from the wild. This will be her second baby with dad Jake. Their daughter Kim is 3 years old.
It's very difficult to actually assess as to how far the pregnancy is, and with the pregnancy test they're not always accurate. So it's generally down to the keepers or primate care staff, really, to just wait and see what indications there are.
The staff have no concerns about Jake, who's proved himself to be a great dad to his daughter Kim.
At the moment, Kim is tending to actually spend more and more time playing with Dad, so it's actually given Zoe a bit of a chance to rest up. Jake is absolutely fantastic dad, he really is, and considering he's a first-time dad as well, and to actually see them two playing, it is fantastic to watch, it really is.
At the new capuchin enclosure, the younger boys can't wait to get out and explore their new playground. Some of the more senior guys, including the oldest, Gorillon, were released first to test the new equipment and make sure there were no escape routes.
We've done the release for these boys in stages purely because, one, we weren't sure how the fence was going to hold up, so we didn't initially want to let out any of the young guys that might test it.
The overhang at the top of the fence has been specially designed to make sure the monkeys can't climb over. With all the older capuchins accounted for, the staff have decided it's safe to go ahead with the big release.
I'm quite keen to get back that way.
The grass is always greener. Gorillon and the older boys obviously think they've been missing out on some treats inside.
With them going in and out, hopefully that will build the confidence of the guys that haven't been outside yet, and they'll see that it's quite safe to go in and out and hopefully follow suit. Yeah, boy, Bruce. It's just a gradual process and we'll go at their speed rather than push them into something they don't want to do.
This tree-filled enclosure is a far cry from the tiny cages these capuchins were kept in before they arrived at the park.
Today's a day that we've all been waiting for a really long time. Mainly the capuchin monkeys, of course, but everybody here at the park has been working so hard to make it right for all of those 88 capuchin monkeys we brought back from the lab in Santiago. We knew that this was our goal, and we just needed to make sure that we did everything right to give them the very best chance. And, you know, look at them now walking through the trees using their tails, you know, hanging from the treetops. And it only goes to show it doesn't matter what conditions you come from, no matter how traumatic and how tragic your background is, whether you're from the pet trade, whether you were wild caught and stuck in a lab, if you were born in a lab and have never seen the light of day, all of the natural instincts are there if you're given the right environment and the right encouragement. And this was a big thing to do, and it's just fantastic.
A couple of the boys didn't come from the lab in Chile. Gizmo was rescued by the Monkey World team from Ipswich when they discovered he was being kept in a small garden shed with no heating on his own. He's been here since 2004, but still has problems interacting with the others.
Hopefully this new big area will just make everybody a little bit more relaxed because they've spent so much energy running around. There's enough space that people can move away, and hopefully the good days will start outnumbering the bad days. Almost all of the guys who are venturing out into the middle of the enclosure and scaling the trees and going up high are all of the older boys. And when you look at their records, they're all of the boys that were wild caught. Really, I think our old boys here, Gorillon and the others, perhaps can wave the flag for all wild monkeys. They need to stay wild.
So the enclosure's a success, and there's been no great escape today. The fences seem to be capuchin-proof. But the staff will have to keep their eyes peeled because these clever little monkeys could always decide to tunnel their way out instead. The park has a colony of ring-tailed lemurs. Their enclosure is intended to replicate their natural environment as far as possible. Lemurs come from Madagascar. There are 99 different species, with new ones still being discovered, and they all live in slightly different environments. Ringtails hang out in dry scrubland areas where there isn't much water. They spend a fair amount of time on the ground, as they need to cover large distances quickly in search of food. The lemurs at the park have a woodland enclosure, but there's plenty of room for them to hang around on the ground. Today, the staff are making them work for their food.
We've got jelly with fruit in for the ringtails today, and it's just a fun enrichment for them really. It's just a treat, something different for them. It's got melon and grapes, which are usually in their diet anyway, so just as an added treat.
Unlike the other primates at the park, a lemur relies more on scent than it does on vision, so they have long, pointed, wet noses. They use these to find each other and sniff out other groups. They also use their noses to get into flowers and lap up the nectar. Their tongues are long too, which can prove very useful for getting at hard-to-reach food. But one lemur who needs a helping hand is elderly George, who's always had a problem with his weight and now has arthritis.
Because George isn't as mobile or agile as anyone else, and this is fairly George-friendly, really. George is probably the oldest lemur here. He's estimated to be about 25 years old, so we won't be hanging it from a tree for him. We'll just put it in a cup where he can sort of work it out. George!
Lemurs use their tails to balance and throw their scent. Because they're so long, they can also use them to signal to the rest of the troop.
This is Blue. She's our lone rough lemur. She's quite an old lady now. She's estimated to be about 24. Let's see what she makes of it. And help herself. This is the feeding style of the rough lemurs. They like to sort of suspend themselves to feed, which is why with Blue we do try and put a lot of her food in baskets around the outside and the inside enclosure to try and get her to feed naturally. Not long enough, Blue.
With all the jelly gone, it's time to clean up. Lemurs love to groom each other. It's a way of keeping their fur in top condition and strengthening the bonds between them. For the last year, Lavar's troop of woolly monkeys have only had use of their woodland enclosure. Their other outdoor space has been out of bounds to them because it was too dangerous for one of the youngest members of the group, baby Diego. But today, they're being let back in.
For the past year or so, since Diego's been in the house, we've only given them this outside area, but Diego's a bit bigger now and we feel he's ready to explore the rest of the enclosure.
Diego was hand-reared because his mum Kuna wouldn't let him suckle. When he returned to the group, he integrated well, but had no one to watch over him. Normally, a mother and baby would stick together for at least 18 months. The woolly's second enclosure is more exposed than their woodland area, so without a mum to cling to, Diego would have been a sitting target for birds of prey. The group have no problems remembering where to go.
Come on then, good boy. That's it, Diego, follow your brother. Come on then.
But Diego is a little daunted.
Good boy, Julio. Diego, I think his bravery's deserted him slightly. He made it about a third of the way down the tunnel before he turned back. So we'll just keep trying and hopefully we'll be able to tempt him out. Diego! Come on then! Good boy! Diego, come on!
He finally plucks up the courage to join the others.
And there he goes! He's in the outside enclosure!
But with so much space, he's not quite sure where he's supposed to go.
totally didn't expect this. He's a little bit unsure just now, but it'll just take him time to get used to the new surroundings. But yeah, he's just not quite sure what's going on or where he is.
Fortunately, his big brother Julio hangs around to give him some moral support.
Hi, you all right? Just a little bit shocking, isn't it?
It's a different story for Paquita's new 3-month-old baby, Isla.
We've got no worries about Isla getting lost down there because she's going to be permanently attached to Paquita, so there shouldn't be any issues there at all.
Paquita is proving to be a great mum this time and never lets Isla out of her sight. There's even a rare appearance from the oldest woolly monkey.
Susie came down as well to make sure that Diego went off into the big wide world nice and safely. And as far as anyone in the park can remember, the last time Susie did that was on Julio's first day down in that enclosure. So she seems to be carrying on a bit of a tradition there.
For Diego, it seems that's enough excitement for one day. But he's proved he's one of the big boys now. Next time on Monkey Life. A day at the dentist proves painful for the new Stumpies.
The infection was extremely bad, it was extremely smelly, and it would have caused her a serious infection in her body.
And Ben comes of age with the boisterous bachelor boys.
I think he's got ambition. I think one day we might see him ruling the roost in here.